Aloha and welcome to the Ascension Cast. We're here. It's been a minute, but we're starting over again. So I'm here with Joe, very gifted, powerful psychic and viewer. He gets really amazing answers, and he's got a lot of military insights. Not sure how much he can share with you, but I'm excited to see what he can reveal. We had Kevin on a minute ago, but he was having technical issues, so he can't be on right now. But would you like to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Joseph. I got a PhD in clinical neuropsychology. I have a master's as well in psychology and business administration. I specialize in a bachelor's degree as well in religion and philosophy with a focus in Middle Eastern studies and politics. So I know a substantial amount of religious aspects from Buddhism, Hinduism, all the way up to Islam. That's a little bit about me. I was over in JSOC for 3 years, was attached with 82nd Airborne and 3rd Group, did some other stuff with some other guys that I won't go into, but I have a pretty in-depth track record with the military.
You've also been to some really interesting sacred sites. You went to Taiwan and went to the temples over there and studied with the...
That was amazing.
Yeah.
So when I was in Taiwan, I was in the capital city of Taipei and then just south of Taipei, Taiyang City. And I met with a bunch of Buddhist monks, and we basically would migrate up this mountain every day, meditate at the top of this mountain, and then go pray at the temples. And it was one of the most spiritualist moments I've ever experienced in my life for that month and a half being there. I was suffering a lot of PTSD and trauma. And when I came back, I felt so much at peace for a very long time. It was very enlightening, as the Buddhists would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I found a piece of myself again. That's the best way I can describe it. It was like a puzzle piece was just put back together.
Yeah. I love working with veterans that are not doing well and helping them. And you were kind of in a rough patch before we met, and we'd do sessions back in my sacred site. I have a giant vortex back in the forest. It's like a mini Stonehenge, and it's created a very powerful energy vortex there. It's got a stone pyramid in the center of it and massive boulders in a ring. So we'd go back and do healing, a lot of hypnosis, and cleared some entities that were put on him through the military. So like a suicide kill switch entity, basically, almost like Britney Spears. She was monarched hardcore. And as soon as she started breaking free of her programming, they flipped the switch and she lost her mind. But that was, so that
was a very dark time for me for sure. And you were able to get a lot of that trauma out of me.
Yeah.
I still have a lot to deal with, but I've learned and grown from it and have actually unlocked a lot of spiritual abilities through your teachings and healings.
Yeah, you've really blossomed. I mean, like, your viewing ability is up there with a lot of the greats.
Oh, you on your DoorDash in Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there yet.
Yeah, we had a lot of adventures out west. He came out and spent almost a month out there. Yeah. And we were up in the Grand Canyon. We had close encounters with Bigfoot. We could actually hear them talking.
I still have photos of the footprint we found.
Yeah, we actually got pictures of Bigfoot footprints. It was an amazing experience.
I still have an arrowhead too that we found.
Oh yeah, we found an ancient arrowhead up there in the dirt. A lot of bone fragments too, petrified bone fragments.
It was a whole skeleton out there.
Oh yeah.
Through scent.
Yeah.
So
that's that a deer or an elk?
It was elk.
Oh yeah. It was, he tracked it down. Amazing nose. He can pick things out.
Your shovel.
Yeah.
For your own, no,
axe. It was an axe. He goes, there's an axe out there. What do you mean there's an axe out there? But it was next to camp where I was splitting wood. He tracked it down by the smell of the axe. I was kind of shocked and surprised. That's a whole different skill set that I
survived a rattlesnake bite.
Yeah. of all places, we're up on Mount Flagstaff, right next to the snow by where the ski resort was, and he stepped on it and it bit him. It didn't even like give a warning rattle because he just stepped on it. And I'm assuming he was like half asleep because it was that cold. And we were down in the hot desert and didn't really encounter many rattlesnakes. And we're up by the snow and he got bit.
Yeah.
And
not expecting that.
Yeah, no. So then we're in the middle of a tall grass field right on the edge of the snow melt and had to walk all the way through this tall grass. And we're like, oh shit, if there's one, how many more are there? So that was an interesting experience.
Yeah, did not go to the hospital.
Nope.
I refused.
Yeah, he did just, somehow he just did fine.
Yeah, not my first rodeo.
Yeah.
I still have a scar from it, though, on my leg.
Yeah. So where are you going? You plan on going to Pikes Peak? Is there any particular spiritual reason for that?
The trail itself, I've had an internal calling to do Pikes Peak for a while. It's 13-mile loop. Partially is I want to challenge myself with my leg to see if I can still push as hard as I used to. But the other half is there's just a spiritual calling. I believe it's from my native ancestral side that's leading me towards the peak.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to provide a unique perspective is what I'm feeling. So if I go push through it, I'm going to find a missing piece of myself, another piece of that puzzle I need to put back together.
Good.
Is what I kind of am getting from the Stairway to Heaven is another place that is calling my heart, I should say.
Where is that one? In Oahu?
It's by Pikes Peak. There's a mile and a half of just straight steps going up this mountain.
Oh wow.
And then it's from there you take a 3.5-mile trail back around to the ground again. But to go up it, you just take the stairs straight up.
Wow.
A mile and a half. And it usually takes people about 6 hours to do. My end goal is to do it in 4.5. I think I can do it. If I drug myself up enough with kratom and stuff, I feel like I can do it. But
yeah.
Also, it's that kind of something I learned through you with the spiritual aspect. It's all about your mind perspective. If you can turn that switch off, you don't feel pain temporarily. You don't feel tired, exhausted. It allows you to tap into that inner energy to push yourself just a little bit further.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I feel like it's going to allow me to do. And then once I'm up there, recharge, bring all of that energy from Denver and Colorado Springs and just force it into me.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy out there. You're living in North Carolina, so it's a better energy, but Ohio is very much an inward energy. So it's going into the earth. It's kind of like a drain, an energy drain. So when you're in Ohio, everything just kind of it's like a train wreck in slow motion.
It's like the Browns. They go downhill every season. And that's something I've noticed more that I'm here is when I'm out west or I'm out in North Carolina in the mountains or at the beach in particular, I feel like the vortex puts energy into you, kind of like Key West.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Key West.
when you're here, it drains you. It makes you depressed, makes you tired, makes you sad. It's not a good place if you can't regulate your energy outputs. If you can't cut off that energy draw from you, because this place will suck that energy out of you.
Oh yeah. Like going to Key West, I was there, in 22, 21? I can't remember when, but I was living in Key West. I felt on top of the world. I was charged up. My abilities were lit up. I came back to Ohio, and it was like a train wreck in slow motion. It just bled me dry of energy. And every time, so I was out west. I was in Sedona and California, then stopped in Colorado, and I was all charged up. I came back to Ohio, and again, like a train wreck in slow motion. It was just bleeding energy.
Bells Rock was an amazing, energetic place out there.
Oh yeah.
I had told my girlfriend I need to make a trip up there. for
Yeah.
sure. The other place was that trail in the Grand Canyon. Once we got like a quarter way down it, the energy just felt amazing. I think it was because we were picking it up off the Colorado River because we were getting closer to it.
And we're also getting closer to the temples from prior civilizations. You know, the Kincaid expedition discovered all those caves of ancient temples.
Yeah, those we don't talk about.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've seen more information being released.
We're starting to release more.
You know, there's been a disclosure.
There's areas to it though that provide wormhole access, and that one mountain in California that we always talk about that I went to,
Mount Shasta.
Yes.
Yeah, with Telos underneath
There's a wormhole that actually just sucks you from there to that temple.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they used to coordinate trade through that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I when I first learned that, when we were talking to some of the NASA scientists dudes who were in charge of it, I was like, okay, that's pretty freaking cool. There's access to other places too, but those are still classified.
Interesting. What do you know about the UFO factory that was behind Mount Shasta? I talked to a guy and he said it's gone. They moved it because too many people knew about it, found it, and it wasn't really hidden anymore.
So part of it, half of it was shipped out to California. The other half is to Colorado. Actually, that mountain complex that I'm going to be going to.
Yeah, okay.
Not going to name names online right now, but people who know military might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They put half of the projects over there with the Space Force.
Oh, nice.
So Space Force is utilizing some of their propulsion systems to help try to develop new rocket systems.
So Space Force is actually part of the engineering process, or are they just farming it out to independent contractors?
Part of it is independent contractors, just this cost save.
Yeah.
The other half is in-house operations. So Space Force, primarily what they do is any space operations. So they broke up the Air Force, said, Air Force guys, you fly your planes, you do all that. Now, Space Force guys, satellites, rocket propulsion systems, long-range missile systems, you guys are now in Space Force, here you go. And that is all they specialize in, is military space operations, satellites, comms, rocket launches, and propulsion systems.
What about, so it's like the Army Air Corps. So they broke off to be the Air Force. Now they broke off the space aspects off of the Air Force.
And they're co-funded with NASA.
What about like the Navy space projects and Project Solar Warden and that? Did they get
never really separated from their space program fully, but they do coordinate a lot with Space Force.
Okay.
So there's talks about eventually uniting naval space operations with Space Force as well, and just get kind of, that way it cuts budgets on their end. Kind of like the Marines, they're like, we don't need tanks. The Army has that pretty much covered. So they gave us all of your guys' Abrams and deleted the tank program.
I think that was a mistake.
It was a mistake because the Marine tank guys I know would just slam their tank right into a building if they had to kill that person inside.
Yeah.
So
and then the Air Force wanted to get rid of the A-10s. They really were trying to defang our military and make them less lethal.
The A-10 had saved my life a lot, so I'm very biased about that plan.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that's been in the sandbox can say when they hear that, roar of the A-10, like that, they know they're going to be okay.
You get a nice little chode when you hear that bird. There's something about it that just like, it screams America, but it also screams, I'm going to be alive.
Yeah.
If you know you have an A-10 in the area, no matter what they throw at you, you have close air support on your side.
Yeah.
There's times that we've had nothing and we're like, okay, we're going to fight our way out of this. And we're like wishing we had an A-10 on standby. They were like, oh, we can get an F-22 to you. No. Send an A-10.
Yeah, what is an F-22 going to do? Yeah, they can drop a couple bombs, but
send an Apache. That does the trick too. Yeah. There's something about those two aircrafts that scares the enemy much more than your fancy stealth fighters. Keep spending your money because they're needed.
Yeah.
You can fire an F-18 now, like the E, can fire a missile from almost 6,000 nautical miles out of range. Fire that missile. That missile will connect to a communication system on a F-22 that is in that radar system that they can't pick up the F-22. That F-22 then will guide that missile into the target, giving that F-18 that kill without ever being picked up on radar.
That I didn't know that they're
So
working in conjunction that well.
The F-35 and F-22s work in conjunction with F-18s who can fire from out of range and then launch that.
So the F-18s are just basically bringing extra ammo for the F-22 to direct.
And then the F-35 is the primary multi-role fighter system that, okay, if the F-22 is being engaged, the F-35 can, or vice versa, the F-22 can come in and save the day. But
did they figure out the communication system?
Yeah.
Like I heard
they're
there was
using laser and microwave frequency systems.
I heard there's an issue. They had two different communication systems, and the F-22 and the F-35 couldn't talk.
So because they upgraded all of the radar dishes and communication systems within the nose.
Okay, so
everything
now they can talk. Okay,
and they're primarily communicating through laser, actually.
Interesting.
So just like we have a naval ship now that can fire a laser projectile at speed of light and hit missiles.
Yeah,
it's insane.
That's like what they hit Lahaina with.
Yeah.
A do. Yeah, let's.
That wasn't a laser.
Well, a do direct energy weapon.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and why all the houses were burned and melted in California, but the trees weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The government, there's a lot that they do that is just messed up or stupid. Like the Blackhawks, we got rid of our Blackhawks. We're switching to a new, almost a off-breed variant. So it's the new Blackhawk replacement is created by Bell. It is a dual wing vertical takeoff, and then it can rotate and fly like an Osprey. Hopefully it doesn't fail as much as your guys' Ospreys did, though, however.
I've heard a lot of horror stories about those things.
Oh, dude. Last time I was in one was with Marsoc, and we were doing a water jump, and the thing was about to fall out of the sky. We secured our parachutes. I was like, yeah, please don't go down right now. We are below jump altitude, and I don't feel like a hard landing today. Luckily, we got to where we were going. We dropped chutes, and then just jumped, did our water exfil, got the boat out and everything, and looked all cool for the Myrtle Beach girls, as we rolled up.
Whatever happened to the Osprey? Did it make it back okay?
I don't know. I've never seen the pilot since. So
okay. You probably would have heard about the crash if it did.
So. We're pretty sure he made it back, but I've never seen him since. So who knows?
Yeah,
might have been in the one that crashed not long ago.
Yeah,
it's been a mess. They've shut the whole Osprey program down for a very long time. So, like the fact that they switched, they had a better variant actually to replace the Blackhawk. It was a dual propeller troop transport helicopter. Had ability to carry 4 Hellfire missiles and 6 Sidewinders.
And it had the prop on the back.
It had the prop on the back to push it forward. And it had a really good radar crosshair and stuff too. So it was semi-stealth. It was a great.
Yeah, I heard it was fast. I heard it was really fast.
We got to test it in North Carolina at Fort Bragg.
Oh, nice.
And it was insane. And then they tested the other one, and it was nice. It wasn't anywhere near as amazing as like the replacement that I think it was Lockheed developed, but they went with Bell. For budget purposes, it was cheaper. And
someone sucked that contract out of someone.
I would say somebody had to have done that because it was much cheaper per unit, and they could produce the units quicker. Because all it is off of the Osprey platform.
Yeah,
it's just a modified Osprey with updated engines, updated radar, updated weapon systems.
Is it stealthier as well?
No.
Oh no, they didn't.
It's not as
stealth.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Because it does fly fast enough that it can outmaneuver for the most part. It has flares, so it can pop chaff if it has to.
Okay.
But
Speaking of stealth helicopters, what happened to the Comanche?
Yeah, that was an amazing helicopter, but we no longer use it.
Sure.
Delta may.
But
They have an updated variant with thermal systems and cloaking technology on it as well.
okay.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it was the coolest helicopter ever, a stealth fighter helicopter, and they
100%.
just
So part
went
of it
nowhere
was
with it.
they said it was budget harmful because it costs so much per unit. I mean, it's a jet motor inside of it.
Yeah.
However, and they didn't see the effectiveness versus a regular Apache. The Apache was much more effective at what its job was designed to.
Bigger payload, probably
Exactly. Can maneuver much more
yeah.
independently for securing, weapon systems, target on a small group, and it can hover and rotate. Whereas the Comanche, it kind of just has to keep moving, which is great if you need a gun run. It's basically a helicopter version of the A-10.
Yeah.
But it was much more stealthy on crosshair because of the angles.
Yeah.
So what they decided was for the big boys who wanted it still, they put the cloaking technology that we have on some of our other aircraft to almost chameleon it.
Nice.
So it can move and you don't see it and you barely see a crosshair on the radar. And all of a sudden you're just looked out.
So in reality, our latest greatest fighters were designed back in the 90s, almost 30 years ago.
There's a reason we're keeping the A-10 and we've just updated it to a mid-range. So it does still do the close quarter, but they also have better optic systems and weapon systems for higher range altitude attacks, so mid-range. But the F-18, they were going to get rid of it, and then they were like, wait, this thing is amazing compared to other countries still. And then they came out with the E variant.
Is it just, we don't have competition, so why waste more money on it?
Partially,
or is it because what's behind the curtain? The TR-3B, the Dreadnought, the Nautilus?
So part of it is the financial aspect to it. The other half is it's such an effective plane. Out of the 20, 30 years it's been in operation, whatever, not a single one has gone down.
Yeah.
Has confirmed space kills. They've launched missiles and hit satellites with it.
With the F-22?
No, with the F-18. The F-18 has confirmed satellite kills. Dude drove it straight up, and it's on record. You can actually look it up. He fired his missile, and they did it so they could show the Russians what the F-18 is capable of doing.
With an F-18,
everything went through into the space and hit the satellite with an F-18. With I believe it was the Alpha variant, but the F-18E is a highly modified, complex system. It has a lot of the same systems in the F-16 and the F-22s mixed. It can communicate with F-35 and F-22s. It is faster motor, higher range, and it has the fuel, though, it burns less fuel than the regular F-18s because of the new updated engines. So it's faster, but still more fuel economy.
So when are we going to finally pull back the curtain and see anti-grav technology? Like, the TR-3B, the Dreadnought, the Nautilus?
About 10
really?
years.
I mean, they're declassifying everything. One of the things they said they're going to declassify was the UFOs. So would that fall underneath that, or is that still going to be like the stealth fighter?
That'd be more like the stealth fighter system.
Okay.
They will unleash it. You're going to start seeing somewhat stuff releasing probably in the next 2 to 5 years. But majority of it shall be fully released in 10 years. Once we're far enough with our new technology afterwards to that if the Chinese steal that technology, it's not going to matter to us. We're just going to be like,
so it's just keeping it out of the view of public so nobody can see it, so nobody can copy it.
Correct. Just like we had the F-22 in program back in the early 80s.
Oh, so it
was in service around the early 90s officially, and you guys never really heard about it till the mid 2000s because we kept it under the radar as long as we could. A lot of the UFO sightings at Area 51 was the F-22.
Yeah.
Same with the 117 Nighthawk.
Yeah.
It was the exact same thing. A lot of people were thinking, oh, UFO, because they see a diamond shape and then it's just a stealth fighter. lot of
Well,
the
how many of
cancers
those are the TR3B?
Now the newer sightings are majority the TRB,
Okay.
but we try to play that off as best we can because we want to stay ahead of the Russians
Yeah.
and Chinese.
Well, someone snapped a picture of the Dreadnought over, was it the Nautilus or the Dreadnought? But
It
the
was
one
the
that like the cigar
Yeah, it was the
looking one
Dreadnought.
over the Ukraine in the first Ukraine conflict when we overthrew their government and installed a puppet government.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not really allowed to go into that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to disband.
America.
Sorry,
Sorry,
guys. I have to disband off certain topics. I like.
It's not like we've created every conflict that we've been in
Majority
for
of
the
the combat situations we have been either a major part of or started.
Yeah.
I have friends who are in group right now. I'm not authorized to say locations fully, but it rhymes with crane and ends with you. And they're teaching counterterrorism operations, but also counterinsurgency operations. Now they're about to be pulled out though with the new relationship with Russia, from what I hear.
Yeah, that was a whole money funneling scheme and laundering.
It was a bunch more of it was money laundering than anything.
Yeah, it was insane. The amount of money that we sent over there and then got stuffed back into politicians' pockets.
I'll say war's great for politicians' pockets. Whenever I know we're about to go into war, I try to invest in
defense contractors,
companies like Lockheed, Blackwater. I used to do. I actually still go to their training facility. It's one of the best training facilities in the country. What is it, Rockwood now or whatever it's called. It's in North Carolina. It's right up. So when I used to do training for Pineland, so we would be the bad guys and let the special forces students who are about to get their Green Berets come and try to fight us. We were a large military. They were training some of our OPFOR guys who were local civilian militias, so they're like teaching them how to fire, engage. So like what SF's supposed to do. We were the bad guys who were live private military engaging. We would work with those guys. And so before we do Pineland for the Q course, they would send us to the Blackwater training facility, about an hour from our house, and we would sit in this complex, clearing buildings, blowing stuff up, going to the range, and just maneuvering with these guys. So we got to know them better. They got to know us better. So we all knew each other's niches on what we're best at, like me clearing corners. I'm great at it. My other buddy, he's great at clearing tunnels because he's 4'9". So we learned everybody's niche. So we knew exactly when we came to a certain situation against these SF guys, how to execute them. And all of them were all former SF guys too. Yeah. So a lot of them were like, hey, who's Ranger qualified? Who's airborne qualified? You guys are going to jump out of this airplane. Who's former tanker or anything like that? You're driving the tanks. And so we all had a good system. So when we would go up against these SF kids, a lot of times my squad in particular, they would have to tell us to cool it down a little bit because we would just eliminate them before they had a chance.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, they're still students technically. I'm like, you want them to be professional Green Berets, they're going to have to learn it's okay to lose every once in a while. Just don't lose in real life.
Yeah.
Now's the time to lose. Overseas is not.
They've gone so soft in the military. Like it's insane.
There's areas that are soft for sure. Supply, admin, MOSs, those guys can't handle being hazed or anything like that. The infantry guys, the MPs, a lot of the MPs for the most part couldn't, but some of them could. But we learned really on that the old school guys always were the guys who made it back home.
Yeah.
And I always stuck with the old school military guys. My platoon sergeant, my old drill sergeant was under my dad when my dad was in. So she actually goes, "You have big shoes to fill." Now my dad says I did more in my military service than he ever did in his.
I mean, when you told me about the Coke and Smoke card, I found that absolutely, utterly repugnant. You didn't have that in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
We got one phone call the weekend before graduation.
Our,
You were like, "Oh yeah, we got the cell phones
I mean,
like all the time." Like, what? We weren't even allowed such things.
My cousin, his AIT portion, they were allowed after basic, but they didn't have their phone prior. We only had our phone for maybe an hour every Sunday for pass. Just say, hey, we're good. Hey, transfer money real quick so I can purchase what I need at the PX. But we, for almost a year of being in basic, straight, same drill sergeant, same everything, no freedom for a year, outside of just sitting in a classroom doing classwork, learning law, learning detailing operations. We didn't have freedom. My cousin, he had his pass Saturday and Sunday. And I'm like, I hate you, dude. You did your 9 weeks of basic, and then you have your pass. And I'm like, you're soft. He goes, I'm a refueler. I don't have like a OSIT style basic. You're an OSIT, so you're there for between 6 months and a year with the same instructor, same basic training mindset, basically. Everything was basic training, even if once you get your patch, you're not treated like a soldier, you're treated like a trainee up until that graduation. So you're still smoked, you're still hazed, tortured, abused. And I loved every minute of it though. Yeah. My dad was like, he did OSIT, infantry OSIT. And he was like, I don't know how you were in your OSIT at that freaking long, dude. He goes, I would have killed myself. Because it is very depressing not having any control in your life at that moment.
Oh yeah.
And then it's really hard because when you get to your first duty station, and I'm at Fort Bragg, so we have the strip clubs, we have the beach, we have the mountains, we have everything in the world there. And we're like, how do I function? Where what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to be? And it gets you lost.
Yeah, going back into the real world.
And like when I got out, it's still 4 years later, I'm still scared because it's very hard. I have not fully adapted to civilian life.
Yeah, they said there's different periods. Like, Air Force takes a couple hours to adjust back in. Similar with the Navy.
Maybe they're already on their knees behind the dumpster.
Yeah, the Army, takes, I forget how many years, but Marines just never recover.
And that's the same with airborne.
Yeah,
like we're kind of like the Marines of the Army. We're different than everybody. The phrase is, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Yeah.
Same with airborne. Once we die, we don't die. We just slip away.
Yeah.
And that is our catchphrase. Like, like my buddy on my bracelet that I usually wear, it says, "Not lost. Paratroopers don't die. They just slip away. Not lost. Never forgotten." And that's kind of like our phrase, though. Once a paratrooper, always a paratrooper.
Yeah.
You'll never be a leg again. And so once you earn those wings, they're stuck with you for life, like your Eagle, Globe, and Anchor.
Yeah.
You'll never get rid of it. And that mindset sticks with it too. Like, I think that's partially why I'm so prone to violence first. Is our environment was more prone to receiving contact that now it's just instinct.
Yeah. War isn't the answer, but violence is the final solution.
It will solve everything. But finding now that peace through energy and just being able to project that positive energy into myself has saved a lot of people's lives, to say the least. Because instead of like having to rely on my antidepressants, my anxiety pills for my PTSD, I can just close my eyes, breathe a few breaths, draw in that healthy, positive energy I need from the ground, center myself, and go, okay, I'm no longer in combat. This guy is actually not a threat. He's just a nerd. Okay, we're good. I'm relaxed. I'm happy. My energy just saved your life. You should thank me, and keep on going.
Yeah.
And let that past, be in the past. Let the trauma that I faced prior to everything no longer be the answer, but finding true self, true love, true healing is the right answer. And I think that's been the going factor to helping me now adjust to getting back to society from being in.
Yeah. It takes a lot to adjust. I mean, if you're around a group of Marines on the 4th of July and a cookout or something, someone lights off a firework, everybody hits the ground, grabs for their pistol.
That was me when I was last in Texas at Katie's house. It was like that. I dropped and her dad dropped too. We just looked at each other as we're screaming contact, direction, distance. And they were like, wait, oh, that was the firework.
Yeah. Then everybody kind of gingerly laughs and like.
It's like if I drive past a bag on the side road, I immediately think ID from being blown up.
Yeah.
So like I've had moments where I've had to pull over, break down crying, and I'm not a crier. So the fact that I'll break down crying just shows that level of trauma I've experienced from that. Just a simple bag on the side of the road. If I see debris on the side of the road, I try to detour around it.
So has that improved for you since we've worked on that?
It has. I was able to drive around through construction cones coming up here and not hyperventilate like I used to. Because even construction cones, they're the perfect size for an IED under. And so I was able to drive up here with only minimum anxiety attacks.
That's good.
I still have them, especially like if it's a big debris in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
But that will take time.
So when we did that hypnosis technique where we took you into the movie theater, and that was had you close down all those bad memories and change the films in each of that.
Yes.
So
that has been a big help. I think that's what allows me to catch my breath now before and think about what I'm about to do before I engage that individual. I find that movie theater, I find that theater I want to clear my head with the good positive memory. Like meeting my friend's kid for the first time. Going to the beach with the boys prior to our deployment. Those memories are my happy place. Yeah, some of those guys are either gone to other bases now or passed along, but it's those positive memories with them that I want to hold on to, not the negative of losing them. And so when I'm having those anger moments, I tap into that and I'm able to breathe and smile through that anger rather than grit my teeth and knife hand this dude right to the face. And so that treatment was probably the best thing we could have done.
Yeah, that's amazing. You've been great to work with because you give great feedback. So I'm able to channel and design and develop new techniques with you, and then see the results. And I was just kind of winging it with that. The idea popped in my head. I kind of channeled it, took you through it, and it worked.
And that's why I love that area back there. It allows you to channel ideas really easy, especially around that fire.
Oh yeah.
Like when I was moving your bones in you, I got the idea that was through being back there by the fire to replace everything back into place.
Oh yeah. And
I had no idea how to do it prior to that.
Yeah, I mean my hip, which I fell and probably broke, but never really got it looked at. You were able to shift that. My back injury from the Marine Corps, you were able to shift that. However, that one is still hit or miss. But the hip, that went away. You worked on that, and it went away. Like I don't have any problems with that, and it was to the point where I could almost not walk.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to help you because I know it was new for me to.
Oh, I think we got Kevin to come in. Are you back?
I am here.
Oh, excellent. So we're talking about all this money with the military and everything. So how about Doge? What are they going to find? How much corruption?
Y'all are supposed to be getting $5,000 back per person.
Is that a joke or is that serious?
That's serious. Okay. So Doge has found so much corruption that I believe it was like $55 trillion or whatever worth of corruption, or billion, one of the two. But it's enough that they're giving every taxpayer back $5,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
I won't probably get anything because I'm non-tax. I don't pay taxes. But like my ex-wife, all of you guys should be receiving around a $5,000 check.
Wow. Okay, I thought that might have been just internet rumor, but
No, that
yeah,
is
the last
it's been last I heard it was confirmed.
the last figure I heard was like 2.8 trillion, and that
Yeah.
was like a few weeks ago.
I believe it's in the high trillions now.
Wow. Yeah. So
Yeah.
here's my
I mean, we have $100,000 coffee machine at my unit.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so much waste. But my
$200,000 of ice cream on every ship because, well, they stock the ships with ice cream, especially on deployments.
I think it's going to bring down the stock market. So,
well, with the relationship now with Russia, they're lifting sanctions, opening oil trade, so it's going to drop gas prices down significantly because we're partnering with our oil to have a better economy for both of us. They've actually, Russia for the first time since 2014 has lifted or has said that we are no longer adversaries and claimed us friends to the point that NATO had an emergency meeting over our meeting. Since 1996 or 7 is the first time we've ever been lifted as military adversaries. So we are no longer not only adversaries politically, but we are no longer military adversaries, and we're supposed to actually be doing much more joint exercises together.
I think that's great. I think, all around the world,
global peace for sure.
I've traveled all around the world, and people are usually just people.
Yeah,
they're generally good. It's the king who is not so good.
China and Taiwan, the people are amazing. All they want to do is help you.
Yeah, and so you travel to all these countries which are considered to be adversaries, or people are just people. They just want to live a happy life.
It was like that in Afghanistan. The local villagers would happily give you everything they had to make sure you were okay.
Yeah. So
even the Taliban, though, there was times where the Taliban who were in that village would give us food and water if we needed it. Now, as soon as we left that village, we were enemies again. But while we were in that village, we were considered a guest, and they did everything they could to make sure we were treated as such.
Yeah.
We did not feel like we were going to get our throat slit. And
the man behind the curtain pulling the strings is causing wars and conflicts to make money. And it's a huge rat hole for, funneling money from the government, from the people. So if we can beat Russia.
And usually, in many cases, for many of the wars, it is the same forces financing both sides. It's a script that is choreographed and created for the aspect of building the economy of one, and a way for them to supplement their resources, and for a non-friendly country to be able to basically donate resources to us.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like Iraq. We wanted their oil, and there was not much they could do about it, though.
Well, we're going in, we started the conflict by overthrowing the government in Iran.
Yep.
And then Iran became an enemy. So then we're like, oh, hey, there's this great upcoming general in Iraq. Let's prop him up. Yeah. And, this guy named Saddam Hussein, let's give him all kinds of weapons and stuff, and he'll help us.
Russians,
oh, wait, we don't like him anymore. So let's turn our guns on him, and he's got
and kill him without a body ever having being seen, and every person who was involved in that mission mysteriously dies due to strange circumstances. But nothing to see.
That's Task Force Orange for you.
Yeah, and
I was a part of that program for a while.
The picture released of him was clearly photoshopped, and we got him, but we dumped him at sea. No, I heard he died in the Battle of Tora Bora back in 2001. And
I still think it's like Hitler. Hitler never died until he died of old age in Argentina in his 90s. I think they're using him as a CIA spy and as a spook, and they're just put him to a foreign country where he wouldn't be identified, shaved his beard and whatever off, and nobody'd have a clue who the fuck he was.
Exactly. Yeah. So it didn't go down the way. So either he got killed in 2001 and they needed an excuse for the war to keep going, so they didn't mention it until later. But it's all we've created every conflict, and just like the war on drugs back in the Reagan era wasn't just a philosophical hearts and minds war. We had boots on the ground. Our LARPs and special forces were killing whole drug plantation villages. And
yeah, and meanwhile, we were shipping in just as many or more through CIA U-boats and through Coast Guard Marine ships that we were funneling back to the medical industry for experimentation to create new pharmaceuticals for.
oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, you look at, we were at war with these plantations, and we just really started business.
We were at war with plantations that were not working for us. We weren't at war against drugs. We were at war against drugs that were taking away our supply.
Exactly.
That was the big part about Afghanistan was we were reselling. There was times we'd take the opium and the heroin and stuff and send it to the CIA for the CIA to bring back here and give it to poor people in the.
Oh yeah. So
cities.
Back in the 80s, during that war on drugs, what was the big thing? Cocaine. The CIA was pumping it in from South America.
Well, we were using it for increased energy within our soldiers.
Yeah. I mean, between the chocolate with cocaine and amphetamines, and who knows what other cocktails they serve to our troops. But then we went into Afghanistan. What happened almost immediately after Afghanistan? Oh, an opiate crisis. Yeah, it's not like the CIA was. I mean, I've heard stories of guys with boots on ground protecting the poppy fields.
Oh, we were.
Absolutely, yes.
That were doing that.
Oh.
So northern Kandahar, there was a huge poppy field that we always had guards at all time, and the CIA would come, get what they need, head on out, and then we would just keep the farmers in there, keep growing it, and then.
So who was trying to shut it down? The Taliban?
Mujahideen mostly.
Okay, so explain the difference. So who were the Mujahideen?
They were part of the Taliban, but they were more nationalized and it heavily enforced Islam at the same time. Now it's more. Lately, it's been more modernized Taliban, which is what you see now. Women should be able to vote. Have more rights. They're more westernized a little bit, but they're still maintaining that heavy culture. And that is why they're at war with ISIS, because ISIS-K is completely against all of that. And so now the Taliban is actually at war with ISIS, which is why we've been helping Afghanistan on and off with counter operations to maintain elimination of ISIS-K operatives. They're the Taliban was who told us when we were at the Brigham Airfield that, hey, you guys are about to be attacked. We can't do anything inside the fence because you won't allow us in there, but we can do everything we can out here. You guys we had no vehicles at all. We just had our airplanes. They were like, we will give you for 100 packs of cigarettes, a 2-day helix with an anti-aircraft gun. That's all we can give you. They gave it to us for 100 packs of cigarettes, and that was our only defense at that gate. And then they're like, we have reports that you guys are going to be attacked by ISIS. They had warned us 3 days prior. Have your guys at that gate ready. We will do everything we can. The Taliban was engaging that vehicle from the outside. And then, so that's when the Marines heard everything, ran in to try to stop that vehicle also. And then the VBAT came in, blew up, and that's where we lost, one of my buddies from 82nd, all of those Marines. And so the Taliban was actually on our side at that point because they're like, these guys are leaving. They're no longer a threat. We just want them out, but, we don't want them our enemy again, because if we engage them and they were still their enemy, what are they going to do? They're going to send everybody back here again, and we're going to end up losing our freedom completely. And that's not what they're facing with ISIS, though. ISIS is trying to take all that because they want to be the more radicalized Islam. But Mujahideen was a more almost Naziized radicalism.
Yeah.
More national rather than a religious fanatic per se, but they were heavily still endoused in their Islamic faith at the same time. Taliban is just all about their radical Islam's right, jihad, al-Akbar, type of mindset. ISIS-K is a substantially more radicalized version of that.
So how do the Pashtun fit in?
Ooh.
Because I heard, they go in one valley, the Pashtun were fighting with us against, the Taliban, and then they go to the next valley, and then they'd be fighting each other.
Constantly.
The,
It was it's like a big civil war over there, on and off. You got like the localized government, military, you got the Taliban, you got ISIS, Mujahideen, Al Qaeda. All of them are kind of like together, but not together, and then they're fighting each other for power. And honestly, the Taliban's the biggest of it because they were funded the most by the CIA during the Russian invasion, and so they usually do the best, but they're still heavily untrained.
Yeah. So why Afghanistan? Like they have defeated the world's, they defeated Britain, they defeated Russia. I mean, they pretty much destroyed the Soviet Union. They really destroyed the American economy. Yeah. We've sunk so much money into Afghanistan that it really hurt the American economy. Am I missing one? Russia, United States, Britain.
Part of it wasn't
there someone else?
UFO Valley. We wanted more information on that, and then the Giants.
So where the Vimanas are, right?
Yes.
They're basically Indiana Jones, the Nazis who are trying to run around collect tech. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to get more tech.
What we were doing. We were trying to get more information on tech. Okay. Information is power. Tech is power.
Yeah.
Whoever has more of both shall succeed in global conquest. And that was a big part of it. The other part was it was a way at the time to rally the people together. When the trade centers went down, a lot of the people rallied together for nationalized America.
Yeah.
And it gave Bush that power to complete his term pretty much because he was not doing well politically. After the 9/11 happened, he was able to get reelected and united the people with this great speech he did.
So wag the dog type deal.
Correct.
Okay.
And so he basically pulled a World War II style for elections at that point, just like COVID. COVID was a political power move for elections.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they made it so easy to cheat with all the mail-in ballots and yeah.
There's a lot of shady shit that goes down with that.
So the Giants, like we've tapped in, and I've talked to other military personnel and natives, they're native lore and current natives. They talk about the red-headed giants.
They are very hard to kill.
Yeah, I've heard that.
One dude took an AT-4 right to the chest, and it did nothing really. Just he kind of screamed in anger and then started throwing more stuff at everybody. I don't know how much details I'm fully allowed to get in, especially on live.
Yeah. So do you have red-headed giants out your way in Colorado?
Oh yeah. And there are people that I know that are clearly descendants of the Anunnaki. There are people that I know that are well over 6 feet tall.
Nice. That have been there on the land for extended amount of time?
Oh yeah. I don't know their age, but I know that they, well, much like myself, I'm pretty sure that they age slower than normal.
Yeah. Very interesting. So how did the red-headed giants, are they descendants of the Anunnaki?
I think they're like cousins or something like that. I believe there's some genetic relation. I think it's a different cultural archetype than the Anunnaki, but I believe it's more the Nordic and the Viking ideology and the Celtic.
So could they have been what they call the Nephilim? So the Anunnaki.
Both of them are, yes.
Okay, the Anunnaki came interbred with the Earth humans, and then all of a sudden we end up with these harmful red-headed giants that are dangerous. They eat humans. I mean, there's so much, like Chaco Canyon, there's so much cannibalism they found there, all throughout the desert Southwest.
You can't exclusively blame the giants for that, though. There are just as many human civilizations that have done that throughout time.
Yeah, I mean, even like pozole is a traditional Mexican soup that was made with human flesh from the Aztecs. The
Yep.
recipe, instead of using human flesh, they use pork because it's basically just human flesh.
Yeah.
Long pork versus short pork.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, yeah. Yeah. So that's very interesting. So what is Doge going to find with the Pentagon? I mean, wasn't that part of the reason they hit the Pentagon to erase, that those trillions of dollars that went missing? They sent everybody home and they tried
Yeah, on
to.
9/11, when that happened, there was $2.7 trillion that was reported at 11 o'clock at night Central Time that was missing from the Pentagon. And the records for that section is the area that was hit.
Just by chance, though. It's a coincidence.
Pure happenstance. Not saying our government had anything to do with those attacks at all.
Yeah, nope. And it just happened chance that that wing of the Pentagon was, shut down for maintenance that day. And it was perfectly round and there was no airplane parts that were found there.
I'm remaining quiet.
So clearly you've heard some stuff on the inside that you're not at liberty to talk about.
Delta dudes, I told you some information, and I'm not at liberty to go into more than that.
So the Pentagon, it was a Global Hawk? Yeah, okay, yep. Yeah, one of those went out of the fleet at that exact time. I think we had 6 of them or something. Then we're down to 5 right after that event. Yeah,
We're probably lower than that because there were the World Trade Center, all of those. Those were all chroma keyed in later. There was no live footage of airplanes hitting the buildings of any building.
Yeah, and the one shows the shape of the nose cone going all the way through those steel girders. Like,
yeah,
a bird will fuck up the nose cone of an airplane. So for it to go all the way through those steel girders, the cement and all that, and still look like an airplane on the other side, clearly was some bad CGI.
Yeah.
good enough because most people bought it.
Well, we were naive back then. We thought the government had
Most people still are.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's very true.
That's why
we don't want to believe that our government would launch military attacks against our own people for the sake of justifying an international war and taking away our democracy.
Yeah.
They've been doing that since the 40s.
But sorry, folks, it happened many times. Long before 9/11.
Was it in 2013 or something? Obama repealed the law that banned propagandizing the American people?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so the American government has been legally allowed to spew propaganda to the American people, which goes hand in hand with Project.
Well, they've been doing it anyway. What does it matter if it's legal or not? If you're enforcing the laws, you can do whatever the hell you want.
When you have Congress in your pocket and Supreme Court, Justice, and everybody else in your pocket, it don't matter what you do. And if it does matter what you do, that dude just disappears.
Yeah.
Why do you think you got Task Force Orange? That is what our job was primarily to do, and that's why a lot of us ended up in car accidents.
Yeah. So I think Doge is going to bring down the stock market. What's going to happen is the tide between basically the stock market's a rat hole. They're shuffling money back and forth. It's all for money laundering. Then you have these major corporations, and then you have the politicians.
Yeah.
That's this triangle of money laundering, money funneling. So when all the congressmen and senators get audited, they're going to see massive contributions from the corporations into their pockets. And even like Nancy Pelosi, it's clear she's doing insider trading. And so many others. And Bernie, he received how many million from the pharmaceutical companies? That's all going to come to the surface. I'm really excited. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's his body double, a puppet. Who knows?
Dude, last time I seen that dude in person, he was looking horrible. But he was also probably in his like 70s, 80s by then. So
Yeah. So yeah, no, Bernie Sanders was going against RFK's appointment, and he's grilling
that's
him.
right.
Yeah. And then he brought up the fact that he received all this money from the pharmaceutical companies, and he's like, "Don't talk about that." Like, yeah. Oh, what?
The fat elderly man can't go up against the muscular elderly man.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, dude. That guy is going to be good for us though, because he's trying to make everybody healthier.
I
It
really
was great for like them to have Elon, because he's all about saving money. You don't become the world's richest dude without
you have to be good with money.
saving
Yeah.
money areas. Like Bill Gates drives a '96 Honda Civic still. He doesn't need he has fancy cars too, but he goes, I don't need a daily fancy car to pay the maintenance and all that when I can just drive this and it does everything I need.
Dr. Doom.
He's a horrible person.
So with this corruption, I mean, like, I'm excited to see the White House audited, because when they're ordering millions of dollars worth of pizza and hot dogs, it probably wasn't pizza and hot dogs getting delivered to them. It might have been something.
It may have been pizza and hot dogs, but there were a few side items that were not on the receipt.
Yeah.
Half the pack of hot dogs were the strippers. The other half was,
Little kids.
yeah, pretty much. Like, who was our last president we had? What was his name? Because he was not memorable at all.
No, unfortunately, he was Joe Biden.
Yeah, that dude. I could not remember his name.
But he wasn't the actual Joe Biden.
No,
if you look at Joe Biden pre-2007, and then the current one that was puppeted as Joe Biden, completely different people. One was right-handed, one was left-handed. The teeth were different. The eyes were different.
One was more insane than the other.
The hand signatures were completely different. So, and it was clear, like, sometimes you'd see the mask folded up underneath it, or like the tab was sticking out by the ear. So it was clearly a dude in a mask. And if you split the face down the middle and put it up against the original Joe Biden, it didn't match at all. Not at all. But there's this other guy, Jim Carrey. You split the face down the middle, put it right side by side. It's an exact fit. Exact fit.
Yeah.
So
there was always something weird about him. Like when we did security for him, a lot of us weren't even allowed near him. Trump, we got challenge points from him and the Secret Service and everything. They were all really, really cool with us running security for him. When Biden came around on base, it was very limited what we were like, how far we were allowed to be from him, what we were allowed to do. Even like our sidearms, we were not allowed. If you were a certain range from him, you weren't allowed to have your sidearm on you.
Interesting.
Which was weird considering we're running security for this dude. Why the heck do you not want us to have your sidearm with this?
Oh yeah, I mean, clearly it was a deep state player.
Yeah,
they're protecting. So speaking of firearms on base, what's going to happen with that? Are they going to reverse that, change so our military can have guns?
I mean, we're allowed to have guns on base.
I mean, in a very limited fashion, unless you're like an MP, you can't.
So like for like soldiers at home or whatever, they're allowed to have armed weapons. Otherwise, for the most part, it's locked up in an arms room. Like if you're in the barracks, they keep the arms room.
Yeah.
And then to travel on them, obviously you have to like demag, have them separated from each other in a lockbox or whatever when you're driving your car, and they have to be registered on base. But for like the military aspect, we carry our M4s or 249s or marching or whatever.
Like on duty. Yeah.
In general, like we would have our weapons with us. Like I had my 249 at home every once in a while. I would just have to maintain security. So like they would make
that
sure
would be a big no in the Marine Corps.
Our grenades, negative. Our pistols we were authorized to have with us for the most part, but there's areas where they're like, okay, certain weapon systems, AT4s or whatever. Okay, no. But our day-to-day weapons, we were authorized.
We lost Kevin. I don't know what happened.
I think we can go to
Okay, yeah, we can go. Yeah. Okay, well, this has been a very interesting episode, and we are not suicidal. So if we disappear, someone didn't like what we talked about.
Or if somebody in their end disappears.
Yeah, I wish that was more of a joke, but yeah, we kind of talked about a lot of interesting stuff that, well,
more of an insight that you wouldn't get outside of military aspect.
Yeah. So hopefully we could get to do more episodes, but if you don't hear from us, someone had a bone to pick with our webcast. But excellent tuning in. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Find peace, whether it's through yourself or through others. And I hope you guys can find a healing journey through this. So
yeah, hopefully we'll get to have you on again. Let me see where's the outro. I don't know if I have the correct one, but we'll just use the one I found. It might be from Spinning Yarn, but hey, I'll have to update a new one. But thank you, everyone, for joining in. It's Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to do a webcast with Kevin. I'm working on my book. I don't know when that's going to come out, but we'll see. Going to get some workshops happening. And if anyone wants a session, feel free to book a session with me. Thank you so much for joining us. And
I'll share my Colorado adventures next.
Yeah. Excellent. Aloha. Love and light to everyone. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this video session. Please support the Infinite Love Movement by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Visit theinfinitelovemovement.org to sign up for healing sessions, classes, and events with Brian.